We're going to go through it today. How you doing, Tim?
I'm doing great. So this is actually now when I can talk realistically about what's happened with Hurt.
Oh, yes,
because it's been out for 2 weeks now at the point of recording. You guys will get sick of me talking about this, but trust me, this will be last time for now. It's actually been doing pretty well. I've been getting a lot of positive responses to it. A lot of people really interested in like the way I did the cover, the video. It's been getting a lot of good responses, and yeah, it's been really fun to do. The second song has been recorded as of last week, and that is a journey that I can't wait to go on again.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it. Well, that's enough of you self-fluffing.
Follow at the Tim Martini.
We've got one of my favourite media IPs to talk about. We're talking about Pokémon, Tim. Specifically, we're talking about Detective Pikachu, the 2019 movie directed by Rob Letterman, starring Justice Smith and Ryan Reynolds, obviously.
Obviously.
Peekapool, if you will.
So, can I just start off by saying I don't have much of a connection to Pokemon as like most people grown up did. Like, I watched the show, especially the first run of it, the iconic theme, of course.
The Indigo.
Yeah,
Indigo.
that's what it's called. See, I didn't even know it had a specific designation. That's called its original season.
The first 170 or 80 episodes odd.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I watched some of the movies, like obviously first movie 2000, Mewtwo's Revenge, I think it was, and the third movie, which had nothing to do with Ash Ketchum. I grew up on it. I was always aware of it, but when it came to the games itself, I was never the biggest fan. Full disclosure, I'm not a big RPG person. Like, there are some RPGs that I have played that I'm a big fan of, like Final Fantasy games, Persona, massive fan. Pokemon never really clicked with me, and I don't understand why, because it has everything that I would love in a franchise. You know, cute animals, a really good soundtrack most of the time,
Banging soundtrack.
and it was on a portable console. It was on like Game Boy Advance, yes, and those were consoles I owned, so I'd have every reason to own it, like play them. But it just never clicked with me.
That's funny because I'm not a big RPG guy, except for Pokemon. Pokemon is my RPG.
That's the thing. I know a lot of people are like that.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like for a lot of people, Pokemon was their gateway to RPGs because it's
Definitely.
not as an insult, but it's very basic in what it is, right? Like, you go around, you capture Pokemon, and level them up so they get better, so they evolve, and then you battle all the other gym leaders, and then sometimes there's something else with legendary Pokemon.
Yeah. You battle your rival, you beat the Elite Four.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's good fun.
Yeah, it's just never clicked to me, but I will not say I think it's bad, because I watch the shows. So
it's not been your thing, but you've always understood the appeal.
Yeah, I completely understand the appeal.
Yeah.
I think even as a child I had Pokemon plushies, which was a weird thing, especially Pikachu.
I've still got Pokemon plushies, mate. When me and my wife Katie went to Canada last year, I bought a Bulbasaur and she bought an Eevee. Had to be done.
Enough.
Had to be done. We're recording this at quite an apt time because they've just announced that Ash Ketchum is leaving the anime. They're going to be a new protagonist starting when they start up the next ones. So no more Ash Ketchum. He won the World Championships in the last series, which I think was the Galar one, which is the UK version in the Pokemon world. And that's it. He's done. There's going to be no more Ash Ketchum and Pikachu. I'm sure there'll be another different Pikachu in there.
That's fascinating to me, because Pikachu's the face of Pokemon.
It wouldn't surprise me if another, maybe not the lead, but a side character, their main Pokemon's a Pikachu, because he is the mascot of Pokemon.
Yeah.
Pikachu's fine, right? But Raichu is a better design. He's more powerful. Why do people love Pikachu so much?
I think it's when, if you watch the show first, and that's like basically the first Pokemon you see, and that's the one that gets the most screen time.
Yeah, he gets in the anime. He does get a lot of sympathetic moments and emotional moments with Ash. They do, considering all he can say is Pika Pika. I mean,
the fucking like first movie when Ash gets frozen and he's crying,
turned to stone.
Yeah, and then Pikachu's there just crying. It's like,
and and all the Pokemon tears heal Ash.
I know. But enough about the animation. Let's talk about the live action.
What did you know about Detective Pikachu before?
I know it was based off a game, a 3DS game. I know that the main character was called Tim.
He is called Tim, yes. This could get confusing. I was thinking this as I was watching it.
This is going to get really confusing. So can we just refer to the main character by his actor's name, Justice Smith?
We can, yes.
Thank you.
Although all my notes say Tim, so let's see how much that works.
I knew that, and I knew this Pikachu talked.
Did you know it was Ryan Reynolds voicing
Yes, I
him?
saw the trailer. I saw the trailer. My immediate response to that was, it shouldn't have been Ryan Reynolds.
Shouldn't have been.
No.
Why not?
This came out after Deadpool, and
Yeah.
I think ever since Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds has been doing only one thing, which is
Being hilarious?
just basically being Deadpool, but just toning it down for other roles, or toning it up for other ones.
Hey mate, we said it on this podcast before. When you do something well, do it.
Yes, but my thing was, I don't think it was suited for Pikachu. We'll go into it. I just don't think it was the right. You could have done it with any other Pokemon. I don't think Pikachu was the right one.
We'll get to the end at some point. I think the ending explains everything and makes it work, but we'll get to the end. I watched this on Blu-ray. I think it's the first one of these I've actually gone out and got my Blu-ray out and watched it. It's actually proven to be unavailable elsewhere without paying, and I've already got a Blu-ray, so why would I pay again?
Yeah, exactly.
So I got the Blu-ray out, and on the Blu-ray I started exploring, and there's actually there's only one alternate scene, and it's an alternate opening, and it starts with Tim, Justice Smith, in his insurance job that he talks about right at the beginning of the actual movie. He's actually fallen asleep at his desk, and he answers the phone, and someone's asking for life insurance, and he looks excited, and they all said it's about their Pokemon, and he's like, oh, we don't do Pokemon life insurance. Do you know the actor Rob Delaney?
Yes.
American actor who lives in the UK, works in the UK.
Yeah.
He creeps over the desk and he's trying to convince Tim to go out drinking because it's Tim's 21st, and he's talking about creeping on girls and stuff, and he goes, "We got to catch them all," about women. It's there's a reason
there's a reason that wasn't used.
Yeah, there's a reason they didn't use that. It didn't. The note was slightly wrong.
Yeah.
I think if it was like a 15, it would have worked. But here, Rob Delaney playing a creep, and I love Rob Delaney. His real story is quite sad, and it is funny to see him in this kind of sleazy role, which I don't think he's done before, apart from maybe when he was in the one where he gets him and Sharon Horgan, and he gets her pregnant. Very good though. It's very entertaining. I just can't remember the name of it. So we start the movie with Mewtwo in a orb that's filled with liquid, and he's being held prisoner.
I immediately thought of the first movie.
Well, that's the thing. So it is similar in the first movie. He's being hauled in a orb, and in fact, they designed the bubbles to look like anime. So the bubbles that are in the orb of water with Mewtwo are supposed to look like anime.
That's cool.
There's already an immediate link between that and the first Pokemon movie. So we kind of come away from that, and Mewtwo escapes because there's a power shortage, and he chases after a car and destroys it.
All I immediately wrote was, this is really gritty for a Pokemon movie.
Yeah, straight away, it's real dark, isn't it?
Go straight in with the murder.
As a nothing, I've watched this movie a ton of times, but I watched it this time, and I've not done this before. The Blu-ray has a thing called Detective Mode, and it comes up with loads of little hints and tricks, and sometimes it cuts over the dialogue, which is slightly annoying.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like having the IMDb talk to you.
Oh,
it's quite good. And it also comes up with little Pokedex entries, which is quite fun for all the little Pokemon. Not all of them, there's too many to do it, but the ones that are the kind of key in the shot, it kind of comes up with those. So that's worth, if you've got the Blu-ray, that's worth just watching once, because it is fun.
Just as if you're like a big fan of it.
Yeah, if you're a big Pokemon fan and you've got the Blu-ray, I'd watch Detective Mode. It's good. It's got little tidbits. You get little bits from Justice Smith and Rob Letterman.
Oh, that's cool.
And Catherine Newton. You get little bits from Catherine
Who's
Newton.
currently playing Cassie in Ant-Man 3.
That's on my notes, yes. I watched Ant-Man 3 and she's in it. We saw her. I was like, that's a different actress. And that's the girl from Detective Pikachu. Once we come away from the chaos and the grittiness, like you say, we kind of just come to a normal looking world, kind of over farmlands and stuff. But instead of regular animals, everything's Pokemon.
Yeah.
You see a Buffalon instead of cows. You see a Rufflet instead of an owl, and there's Pidgeots flying around. It's pretty cool. I think immediately you're kind of in that world.
Yeah. My only issue was, I feel like the colour grading needs to be more vibrant. Because the world looks quite flat, where you have these Pokemon that they stand out too much. And you can say that's like a stylistic choice because you want a Pokemon to stand out in the wild. But it doesn't feel like they belong in that world, especially in the field scene. I felt the colours were a bit too muted.
Well, like early on.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right, but I do think that gets negated a bit later on when everything's darker.
I think also there was more neon in that point, but I don't know, I feel like there are some scenes where the colour grading should have been a bit more vibrant, especially since it's gonna sound bad because this is a kids movie. I feel like the colour grading, it felt more adult rather than appealing to kids.
I think this movie does a really good job of catering for both kids and adults. Not just adults for their nostalgia, like adults my age who would have been, kind of 9 when it first came out.
Yeah.
Or 8 when it first came out. Also, there are some adult jokes. It's a bit like The Simpsons,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
a kid's just not going to get what you're talking about. But Ryan Reynolds, particularly Detective Pikachu, says some stuff and you're like, huh, that's a bit cheeky.
Oh, I have a few in here, don't I?
I see what you mean, though. It's quite yellow.
Yeah.
But I think that's on purpose. I think it's yellow to negate, like, boring, backwoods... A bit like if you were to put, like, Nebraska in an American film. I think it's supposed to show that it's a bit dull, apart from the Pokémon, who are cool.
Yeah.
But everything else is this little town, sleepy. There's a reason why Jack, who is Tim's friend, wants to get away. Because it's a sleepy, suburban, middle-of-nowhere, rustic town. I might be reading too much into that. You might be right. The colour grading might not be great.
All for we know, it's a stylistic choice that just didn't blend well with me.
Yeah, it could be that. It just didn't sit with you. That's a fine point. After that, we get Tim's friend Jack convincing him to come and help catch a Pokemon for Tim.
Yeah.
Now, Tim is very against this. He hates Pokemon, which we'll find out a bit later why he hates Pokemon.
Yeah.
But he's just not into it, not bothered. They find a Cubone. Now, Cubones are weird Pokemon.
So, am I correct in thinking that the skull he's wearing is like the skull of like his dead relative?
It's his dead mum. Let that silence sink in. So, it's really interesting when you go look at the old Pokédex entries for the early games when they weren't quite being so... Some of the later ones, they still talk about like some of the Pokemon kidnap children. They are weird. But there's a fan theory that Cubone is actually a baby Kangaskhan with a skull on, and it evolves differently because the mother dies.
Okay.
That's never been confirmed, but the skull does look like a Kangaskhan.
Yeah.
Did you notice the actor who's playing Jack?
So I don't know his name, but I know who he plays. He's Dopender from Deadpool.
Yeah, Karen Sonney.
Yes.
He's Dopinder, which obviously, I think he probably got this role because he's now pals with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was a pretty cool... I think that's almost a little hint, because there is an element of Deadpool likeness with Pikachu.
Yeah.
I think that's a little... They know that.
Yeah,
And I think that's a little... Yeah, he's Dopinder.
Yeah.
You remember him? He's the one who drives the cabs and forgets guns. Jack tricks him into catching the Pokemon, and did you catch the reason he tells Tim he should catch a Cubone?
No, what was it?
Jack says Cubone's a lonely Pokemon. So he's like you, Tim. Like, fucking hell.
All I put was the Cubone's crying its eyes out. Relatable.
Yeah, they always do. That's Cubone's thing. Anyone who lives in London who's young probably has that a lot in the evenings,
Yeah.
Cost of living, having to get the tube. I get you, Cubone. I'm with you. Tim, to appease Jack, just agrees to catch this Cubone. Jack gives him a Pokeball, and what happens to him?
Well, first off, the Cubone gets into the Pokeball, but then it's like, yes, I did it! And then the Cubone breaks out and is pissed off.
Oh, it is. Pissed.
It chases Tim down and beats him up.
So the move it uses is a little... Any Pokemon fans out there? Cubone and Marowak have a move that only they can learn. Bone Meringue, where they throw the bone. And that's what he does to Tim. He throws the bone at him, and then they escape the Cubone, and Cubone just runs off crying again.
Yeah. The Cubone's so tiny compared to them. It's the funny thing.
It is weird, because I think they use the Pokédex entries for sizing.
Yeah.
And Cubone's about a foot tall. Oh, well, he's tiny. He is so tiny. Tim and Jack have a little conversation, and Tim says he doesn't want to leave town. He's got a good job, and his grandma lives in town, and he doesn't want to go out on a Pokemon adventure, which is kind of more the insinuation, because that's what Jack's off to. Jack is dressed a little bit like Ash Ketchum.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a backpack, he's got a baseball cap on.
He's going to be the very best.
Like no one ever was. And this is where we get Tim looking at his phone and realising he's got 5 missed voicemails from the Rhyme City Police Department.
Rhyme City. Yeah. Is that a place in the Pokemon canon?
No. It's a new one made up for the film.
Cool. It's London.
It's London mixed with Tokyo. So it's filmed in London, and they used London as the base.
Yeah.
And then they plant loads of Tokyo stuff on top of it.
Yeah.
That was the
really
idea,
cool.
yeah. It's a really cool idea. It makes London look dope.
Oh, yeah. Like, honestly, it made it look amazing.
Yeah. Tim gets these messages, and it turns out something's happened to his dad.
Yes.
And his dad is a police officer, and he needs to go to Rhyme City now to see what's happened with his dad.
Yeah.
So he gets the train, where we meet another Pokemon.
I just wrote Tongue Pokemon, because I don't know its name.
His name is Lickitung. He even says it. He says, whose Lickitung is this? So I was watching the detective mode, and they show you how they film it. It's really good. They've got a person in a green suit. There's also, the bottom half of them is Lickitung, like an actual model. And then there's another guy in a green screen suit, and he's got a paintbrush, almost like a wallpapering brush,
Yeah.
and it's clearly a bit wet, and he rubs it on Justice Smith's face, so Justice has something to react to.
Yeah.
It's really funny how they do it.
It's clever.
And it ends up being really, it looks amazing on the thing, like
Yeah,
the big
yeah.
tongue. And there's a little note comes up here about Lickitung saying, whenever it comes across anything new, it will always give it a lick. So that's great.
So it's a
Lickitung
dog.
is great. One of my favourite podcasts is called EXP Share. It's about Pokemon. They have You Make Me Barf Pokemon, and Lickitung has appeared on that list several times.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, he's great. And he's an original 150 as well. He's not even a late weird one. He's an early. So on the train, Tim watches videos about Rhyme City and
Yeah.
Howard and Roger Clifford.
I put Bill Nye, definitely the bad guy.
Yeah. Not the science guy, the bad guy.
Yeah.
Different Bill Nye. The Bill Nye the actor, not the science guy. This is where we get another little note here. So it's showing you, in that video, you get the original starter Pokemon, Squirtle, Bulbasaur, and Charmander, and a
Yeah.
clip of Pikachu really early on. So that video kind of already harking back to, they're the first Pokemon you see in the video.
Yeah.
They're the Pokemon from the original games. A little note come up here saying what Justice Smith's favourite Pokemon is. That's Totodile, who does appear in that video, the little blue crocodile.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That's from Gold and Silver, the second generation, so I don't know
Okay.
how old Justice Smith is. Maybe he's the right age for Gold and Silver rather than Red and Blue.
I mean, wasn't there a remake for it on DS around that point?
Yeah, Heart Gold and Soul Silver
Yeah,
as well,
so-
so maybe they were his versions,
Yeah.
maybe, yeah, I don't know how old he is. He's probably closer to your age.
Probably a bit older, yeah.
Maybe a tad older, yeah. So Tim approaches Rhyme City and we get the cool, big, establishing shot of Rhyme City. How cool does it look?
It looks cool, but then I saw all those Pokemon, I went, I don't know half these.
Well, you wouldn't if you kind of stepped away. So with the new games, with Violet and Scarlet, there's over 1,000. But at this point, when they made it, there was over 800. We see a Bravery flyby.
Yeah.
That's a cool Pokemon. Flies by. And you got to get down on the city level, and it's quite cool. So you've got like a Machamp directing traffic.
Yeah.
You see a video.
Squirtle Firefighters.
So that's from the anime. So
Yeah.
when Ash gets his Squirtle, he's part of the Squirtle squad, who are like mischief makers. And then when they befriend them, they end up being the little town they're in. They end up being the firefighters for the town. So I think that's just another nod to the anime.
I mean, it's clever as well. Like, got to utilise your Pokemon in the right ways.
Well, they've got powers. Use
Yeah.
them. Tim heads straight to the police station to talk to his dad's boss. Did you recognise the boss?
Ken Watanabe.
Yes, from The Last Samurai.
This is when they actually say the main character's name is Tim.
Yeah, it's not until about here.
Yeah.
So in that cut opening scene, you see his name on his desk.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they had just were planning it around that, and then they cut that out, and they were like, oh, you don't hear his name. Jack never says it.
Yeah.
You never hear it on the train, on the phone. So this is the first one, 10 minutes in before you
Yeah.
hear his name?
That's when I panicked, going, oh no, the notes.
Writing your own name over and over again.
Yeah.
Tim's dad is called Harry.
Yes.
Did you like Harry's boss's Pokemon?
Yes, I did.
Snubble.
Yeah.
Snubble is a weirdo man. Little pink fairy dog.
Just looks grumpy all the time.
Yeah, he's got such a grumpy face. So we get Tim getting the keys for his dad's apartment from his dad's boss.
I just love how Harry's boss is like, sorry, you must be really upset. Like, no, I just want the keys.
I just want the keys. Well, at this point, we're kind of starting to establish that he maybe doesn't see his dad very much.
Yeah.
Or at all. Justice Smith does a really good job of conveying small emotion.
Yes.
Or someone trying to repress emotion.
Yeah.
He's clearly upset that something's happened to his dad. Is he that upset? Or is he holding it back?
Or he doesn't want to show it to people.
Maybe, yeah. There's a few levels that it could be. But I think Justice Smith does a really great job in this.
Yeah.
Tim heads to his dad's apartment, and this is where we see a lot. It kind of gets to night time, and we see some of the cool neon.
Yeah.
So the neon obviously has a bigger effect in that. It's quite 80s neon, but also for some reason it makes something feel modern. It happened in John Wick as well.
It's
Like neon colour grading at night. It's
neon
beautiful.
just looks cool, man.
It does.
It's timeless.
It is and it isn't, but that's kind of what's cool about it, I think.
Yeah.
If you think of it as retro, it's cool. If you think of it as timeless, it's cool. I don't think it matters which way you look at it.
I think because it's always been used in futuristic stuff, but it's popularized like in the 80s, so it has that retro thing of when it started. But now, because it has that connotation of being used for futuristic stuff, it just always looks cool.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what they've done really cleverly here, and it's the same thing John Wick did, it's actually the film is quite noir, and they use loads of noir stuff in here, like Bored to Death as well.
Yeah.
Loads of noir references. And in fact, the director says how inspired it is by film noir. We saw it in the last scene in the boss's office. The kind of slats from the blinds letting in certain light. It's really film noir. And then we see it in this scene. So when Tim gets to the apartment, he goes straight to check his dad's mail, and he's being followed by a Psyduck. And he says, what does he say to the Psyduck? He says something along the lines of,
"Are you trying to rob me?"
or just annoy me.
Yeah.
I love Psyduck. Apparently he's Rob Letterman, the director's favourite Pokemon.
I'm not surprised.
We get a really cool hazy framing of Lucy, played by Catherine Newton, at the top of the stairs, as she starts this almost film noir, but intentionally stupid version of a film noir speech, where she repeats herself, and she says she's been waiting to see who opens the box. And the nonsense speech, I actually had to Google the quote because I thought it was really funny. She's like, "Stories like this spread fear, and they're afraid of fear, but I don't fear fear. I walk the walk and I talk the talk." And it's like trying to those kind of 1940s detectives
I was gonna say,
where they mumble on.
It also felt very show in anime, in the way she was speaking it. That was a fast way she's speaking it.
I think they were aiming for that, "Oh, you say," that kind of.
I think it was very English dub, anime.
I see where you're coming from for sure.
I got Dragon Ball vibes from it in the way it's been spoke.
They didn't have a 7-episode fight though.
I did write though, however, in the scene, Psyduck has the most screen presence, and that was kind of worrying me.
Oh, he's a big old fluffy yellow boy, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's only saying one word, which is his name, but it was he was the character I was most drawn to in that scene. I don't think
he's a compelling little character. He's Psyduck.
Yeah, I just don't think Tim and Lucy had good on-screen chemistry together.
What, through the whole movie?
Throughout the whole movie, I did not.
Really?
I did not buy it.
I think there are points. Obviously, you don't know what order they film in.
Yeah.
There are points where they clearly are really getting on, and if you watch the detective mode behind the scenes, they really got on.
That's
so you see little clips of them behind the scenes, and they're making jokes together and stuff. So they really got on. They must be a similar age, I think.
Yeah. Oh no, they definitely are. I don't know. I just didn't buy it. Honestly.
Well, I can't say I saw that, but if you felt like that, I can't deny you your opinion. I wish I could. Like someone else who listens who didn't like Bored to Death. They liked the episode but didn't like the show. You know who you are. You're wrong, and you know who you are. So after the conversation, we find out Lucy is a reporter, although she does listicles rather than actual reporting about cute Pokemon. They're all cute, we know this.
Exactly.
And Tim goes upstairs to his dad's apartment.
Yes.
Did you recognise the movie on the screen?
Yes, it's the fake film from Home Alone.
It is. It's Angels with Dirty Faces.
Yes, I was so happy.
It's not the only film it makes an appearance in, I don't think.
Yeah.
But it's cool that it's obviously a detective / crime thing, and they reused it for here. And anyone who's a Home Alone fan would get the reference.
I was so hoping they'd play it all out.
You only see the scenes you see in Home Alone. There's no new scenes or anything.
I know.
Obviously, they can't get the actors back. Or I thought. Tim sees an article on an open newspaper about the remains of Mew being found.
Yeah.
Which is a little hint. And then Tim finds a purple vial that's got an R on it. And what?
Well, that was a reference to Team Rocket, right?
Yeah, so that's a subtle... Team Rocket aren't in the movie.
Yes.
But the R is definitely a subtle nod. It's very similar to their stylistic R on their uniforms.
Yeah.
From the anime. So what happens when he opens the vial of R?
It releases a big purple mist that goes up and gets the evil monkeys.
Yeah, they are evil. They're evil even without it, because they're Apons and they're gross.
Oh, okay.
They've got little fat hands on their tails, and they're disgusting.
All I thought was the Evil Monkey song from Family Guy. You know when Chris goes really emo? That's all I had in my mind. I literally wrote Evil Monkey's gonna get me.
Yeah, and he was. And Tim has a flashback to... Before, so the R does infect the monkeys, but we don't see... They don't bust in straight away.
No.
Tim has a bit of a flashback to saying to his grandma he doesn't want to live with his dad. And then he goes into his bedroom, and the bedroom's quite cool. It's covered in retro-looking Pokemon posters, including one of an Articuno versus Steelix. And Articuno's a legendary Pokemon that there's only meant to be one of, and I don't know how they got him to battle. So Tim hears a noise in the living room, and goes to investigate, and what do we see, Tim?
We see Detective Pikachu.
We do see Detective Pikachu in his little deerstalker hat.
Can I just write what... So I have 3 notes.
Yeah.
First off, in the flashbacks, I love how they hide Harry's face.
Hide it constantly.
They constantly hide it.
It's
we kind of know, because for the obvious reveal of who Harry is later. So then I wrote, Pikachu's adorable. Immediately after, fuck, his voice ruins it. That voice should not come out of that cute being.
I think it works. I think the fact of what he says It's something quite South Park about the idea of something so
Yeah.
cute saying such stupid, sometimes dirty things.
It's a juxtaposition because you're not expecting it.
Yeah, yeah.
It just doesn't work for me.
Oh, that's a shame. I love it. I genuinely entertains the hell out of me. It's like a child swearing. I find it so funny. Tim starts to panic
Yeah.
as he understands the Pikachu. And what does the Pikachu say to him?
It's like, you understand me?
No, before that he says, I know you can't understand me,
Oh, yeah.
but put down the stapler. Tim is holding a stapler.
Yeah, yeah.
Or I will electrocute you. And obviously, to Pikachu, he thinks that Tim can only hear him saying Pika
Pika,
Pika.
Pika.
But he actually can understand him.
So then Tim starts to basically panic.
So when they realise they can understand each other, Tim starts thinking he's hallucinating.
Yeah.
And he says to Pikachu, stop talking, you're an hallucination. Pikachu goes, you're a hallucination. It's so stupid. But it got me. The gassed monkeys, the Apoms,
Yeah.
start busting in.
Like immediately.
And they all start attacking Tim. And how helpful is Pikachu?
Not at all. What I noticed immediately was he wasn't using his powers. And there's a reason for that, which we'll come into later. But yeah, he was not using his powers to do anything. He was just saying, run.
And then he's like, I've got a knife. Like, because he picks up a knife off the counter. And then Tim says, don't use the knife. Apparently that's a nod to the Detective Pikachu game, because the first mission in that involves Apoms.
Oh, really?
So it's kind of the first mission they do together is to get away from the Apoms. Which they do. They flee to the roof.
Yes, and it's actually a really good chase scene.
Slamming it's quite actiony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a bit where they're running across the roof and then the Apoms, through means, take off Tim's trousers.
And his coat, yeah, take off his
and then Pikachu says they seem to be attracted to your increasing nudeness. Which did get a massive laugh out of me.
There you go. And to escape, they jump down a construction tube. You know, the
Yeah.
thing they feed the rubble down.
Which I said I've always wanted to go down those.
Every time you see one, right? It's like, that looks like a slide.
Yeah, it doesn't looks like so much fun. Probably not. Like once you get to the bottom.
No, yeah, you gotta fucking. They don't slide out very much.
No,
They're just gonna spit you out.
Yeah.
So apparently that was filmed on a rooftop somewhere in London, and then the base where they land is in Shoreditch, somewhere completely different.
Oh, okay.
They don't say where the first location is.
Yeah.
But that street's in Shoreditch if you want to go find it. Tim screams running down the street, so they come to like a market, and Tim's screaming about the Apoms attacking him. And this is where the gas kind of wears off.
Yeah.
And they're all coming down cute, and they're like wearing his trousers. Pikachu basically says, it's the fact that you've got no underwear on, no pants on, or trousers, that no one's listening to you. And he goes, I don't wear underwear. I'm not modest. And we get to see, this is a really cute bit. Tim asks a stranger if he can understand Pikachu. And what does she say?
So, yes, Pika Pika. And then Pikachu, like, when he speaks to her, she hears the original Pikachu voice.
Yeah, and that is actually done by...
The original voice actress.
It's the voice actress. I've got her name here. I'll find it. Hang on. Iku Otani. I think that's how you pronounce it. So yeah, she comes... I don't know if it's new or old version, but it is her. It's her voice.
And I just put that voice is just so perfect.
And then she goes, Pika Pika, he's adorable. And then Pikachu goes, you're adorable. Yeah, she can't understand me, kid. All they hear is Pika Pika. They pat me, they kiss me, they put a finger in me. It's really gross. See, it is funny.
It's like I get the joke. I just honestly, it could have been like the same jokes just with a different voice. It sounds weird, but I would have actually preferred like a higher pitched voice.
Oh, I don't want a cute voice for it. It'd be weird.
That I think that's what makes it work, because like you made the South Park comparison. It's kids saying this thing. Yeah. I kind of wish it was kind of the same thing with.
Well, we've discussed how the Haribo adverts creep me out.
Yeah.
I don't want kids' voices on fucking anything. And we get another example of Pokemon powers being used in the real world setting. There's a Charmander helping cook.
Yes.
He's using his tail flame to heat up some food in this market. This is where Pikachu and Tim both realise they're looking for Harry, Tim's dad. And we find out Pikachu's a coffee addict.
Yeah, he is.
They go to their little cafe and we get another little ode to the anime, although also to the games. There's a Jigglypuff singing in the corner. And someone's falling asleep right in front of her.
That's what Jigglypuff in the karaoke is amazing.
Yeah, I love Jigglypuff.
So, at this point, actually, is why I called the twist.
What?
The big twist, the reveal at the end. At this point, I called it.
We'll reveal it at the end, but yeah. I'll tell you this. In the cinema, it was me and my wife went to watch it. We didn't get it till really late. Now when I watch it back, I feel maybe I should have got it earlier. But there's we'll talk about it later. But there's definitely things put in place to mislead you straight away.
Yeah, there's a lot of red herrings in it, which is like a staple of like detectives stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Tim pretends to be on the phone so that he doesn't look like a weirdo talking to the Pikachu.
Yeah, because it's so clever. Because obviously, no one else can speak to their Pokemon the way he does. So.
Yeah. And then we get not the bartender, the person running the cafe, or the Pokemon. It's a Ludicolo.
Yeah.
They're fucking weird as well. Ludicolo's a weird one because its initial form, that's the third evolution. The first one is a Lotad. That thing's weird as well. But the middle one's quite normal. And you must think, if this little middle one knows what he's going to turn into, he must be fucking petrified. It's called Lombre, the middle one, and he's the most normal of the three of them. Tim and Pikachu discuss what could have happened to Harry. Pikachu says he's read the report, and I love this bit where he's walking up and down on the bar, and he slaps Tim with his tail. And
there's
he says...
an amazing line here.
Go on then.
The case closed, but open until I solve it.
Yeah, he's great. See, another great line. He's constantly zingers. It is a bit like Deadpool, where it's zinger after zinger.
Yeah, I think like if I want to like put it in more context, it was at a point because I think Deadpool 2 had come out like the year before.
2018 Deadpool 2.
Yeah, so I already found it running thin, and also like context of like when I've seen this movie, I've also recently watched like Free Guy and Red Notice, like other Ryan Reynolds movies where he's basically doing the same thing.
This came out before those two. That's not fair.
Yeah, but it's context because basically you've seen one now, you've seen them all. Like Ryan Reynolds is a great actor. I'm never going to dispute that, but he's found a niche, and everyone else knows what that niche is, and it's coming out too frequently.
I think he's always been doing it though. If you go watch like Two Guys That Go on a Pizza Place, very similar character.
True, but also in Harold and Kumar, but that was like small dosage.
Yeah.
Also, Amityville Horror. He actually did a good job in that.
I love Ryan Reynolds, but yeah.
I don't know. He's a great handsome man.
He is very handsome. So this is where Pikachu convinces Harry to help. Sorry, Pikachu convinces Tim to help find Harry, and this is where he starts the recurring. You feel it in your jellies, don't you? And Tim's like, "There's nothing in my jellies." And there's another very adult line here. They're outside talking, and they realise it's late, so they've got to go to sleep.
I'm not that kind of Pokemon.
Yeah. So Tim's like, we're going to go back to the apartment, and Pikachu's like, my apartment? Which I think Pikachu's got a point. He's been living there.
Exactly.
And then he says, I just invited someone to my apartment. I never do this. I'm not that kind of Pokemon, like you just said. So good. Tim goes to sleep. Or no, sorry. Pikachu goes into Tim's room first to look for clues, and this is where we find out that Tim lost his mum as well. There's another great line here. I don't know if you put this one down.
Was it about like you're gonna tell me to lampshade? Like, mate, not yet.
Yeah. So Tim's got a Pikachu bed.
Yeah.
And Pikachu says, "I've never been so flattered and creeped out at the same time. Are you going to turn me into a lampshade?" And Tim says, "I might." So we get to the next morning. Tim just wakes up normally, gets himself dressed, and he dresses in his dad's clothes, which they're a similar height now, so it makes sense. He's got a little Pokemon Easter egg on his t-shirt. It's an unknown from Pokemon Gold and Silver. Okay. They come in like different shapes that look like letters. Obviously that one's the letter O, the one that's the circular one that he's got on. And Pikachu's been up all night looking for clues.
Yes. And drinking a lot of coffee.
He's drunk so much coffee. They again do the classic blinds noir light thing here. Pikachu notices the empty R vial.
Yeah. Was in the bin, right?
Yes, he does. And he also notices there's an article about Harry that involves Lucy having written it.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, we should probably go talk to her. And as Tim's trying to get through the lounge,
he just keeps kicking over all these different cups of coffee as
I was drinking that, and I was also drinking that. It's okay, just step anywhere. It's only my life's work.
So they get onto the set of the news network.
The TV show.
How? How did they get onto a closed set?
Yeah, they just wander on. I don't know.
But I do like that they use the Pokemon theme.
Films don't work unless shit like that happens.
Yeah.
There's a bit before that where Tim won't let Pikachu ride on his shoulder like Ash. And as you said, next they get onto the film set somehow. And the background music is...
the original Pokemon
theme. The original Pokemon theme. How are they not singing along? I don't know.
I mean, Pikachu sings it later.
He does sing it later in one of the best moments in this movie. So Roger and Howard clearly don't get on. Yeah. To the point where Roger says, no one likes your Pokemon to Howard because he's got a Ditto who transforms into a human to help wheel Howard's chair away. Howard's in a wheelchair.
Yes.
So Lucy's got a story about Pokemon attacking humans that Roger shoots down. And at this point, Roger seems like an asshole.
I wrote he seemed too much of an asshole.
Yeah, maybe they're over-egging it for you.
Yeah.
So Lucy sees Tim in the studio and asks what she's doing here. This is after Pikachu's made some sarcastic comment about seeing why he wants to come back and see Lucy. I don't know if you made note of this. Lucy scratches gives Pikachu a scratch.
Yeah.
You need to make note of what he says.
Oh, what did he say?
She says, "She's trying to work me, kid, but trust me, I can't." Oh, sweet mother of Arceus, that's good. Arceus is the Pokemon god.
Oh, really?
So there's instead of saying sweet mother of God,
Sweet mother.
it's this sweet mother of Arceus. There's a good little reference there.
I was gonna say it's clear that this was like made by actual fans.
For sure. I think what they've done also is they've had like multi-generational fans work on it.
Yeah.
So it's not just fans of the original, though I'd say it leans heavily into the original 150, but there are definitely fans of other ones.
Yeah.
There. It's very well done. They must have had Nintendo company involved in some of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Game Freak, yeah.
I definitely think that Nintendo was heavily involved.
Pokemon company, yeah.
In like making this movie, because Nintendo rarely allow movies of their IPs to be made.
We say that just as Mario's about to come out, but yes.
Well, considering it's like the second Mario movie in like 30 years now, considering how bad the first one was.
The other one was awful.
So, and even then, Nintendo have been open about heavily being involved. So
yeah, for sure. So they go to Lucy's little office.
Or as Pikachu says, a coffin with pencils.
Yes, it is a coffin with pencils. He also says, "You did tell me she has a side duct. These things explode when they're stressed." And he starts saying, "Serenity now, serenity now."
I thought side explosion stress. Me.
Yes, I can see that, Tim. I can see you having some mind powers to kill everyone when you get a bit stressed.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So Tim and Lucy make the connection with the vials of R, and they send Tim and Pikachu on their way to the dockyard.
There's a line that Tim says to Lucy's like, "I'm pretty good at being alone at night."
This is what I mean about the adult jokes. Like, kids are not going to get what that means, but that's quite good. It's very Simpsons-esque.
Yeah.
Dockyard they go to is in Chatham, for anyone else. This is, because it's London, this is great for us.
Yeah.
It's Chatham. It's an old Navy base, but it's now used for stuff like filming quite a lot.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And they come across one of the worst Pokemon.
See, you say the one of the worst Pokemon, but this probably gives you one. This is probably my favourite scene.
This is what they've done. They've created possibly the best scene in the movie from one of the worst Pokemon ever created. Mr. Mime. He is the worst.
I love him.
They come up on him, and he tries to get away, but he's a Mr. Mime, so he just mimes getting away. He doesn't even move. He pretends he's got a motorbike that crashes. He pretends to run, but he runs on the spot. This dopey prick.
And then they interrogate him.
And they play good cop, bad cop. Doesn't last very long.
Because Pikachu cannot interpret sign language.
So he's miming all the clues from Mr. Mime. He's like, "We're not cops," and he tells Tim to grow some berries, which sounds like it's just a joke, but it's actually another Pokemon reference because berries are a thing in Pokemon.
Yeah.
Mr. Mime is miming, and as you said, Pikachu's really terrible at figuring it out, and he says, "Oh, my problem is I push people away and then blame them for leaving." That's really deep, and then Tim goes, "No, he's telling you to shove it."
Yeah. And then Tim figures out how to do it, so he pretends going into Mr. Mime's house, like messing up his space.
So Mr. Mime can make invisible walls.
Yeah, and Pikachu jumps into it.
Yeah, and that's one of his powers. And Tim figures out that there's probably a door, and he mimes opening a door, which creates a door.
Yeah.
And he goes in there with him, and what does he do?
Well, he pours gasoline. and then, like, he pretends to light a match, and then Mr. Mime keeps blowing it out, so he goes, "Oh, okay then," steps outside and pours it on the imaginary box or house that Mr. Mime's in.
It makes a trail on the floor.
Makes a trail, and then Mr. Mime tells him where to go. And then they mime accidentally dropping the match.
And killing Mr. Mime, but only through Mime, so he's probably fine.
I've never laughed so hard.
So there's a bit where Mr. Mime agrees, when Justice Tim is still holding the match, and Mr. Mime agrees to help them and starts miming stuff out, and Pikachu still doesn't get it.
Yeah.
And he says, "Use your body words."
Yeah.
And then he says, "Just talk, you stupid Mime." And that's kind of around the time Tim drops the mimed match.
It's because they realise it's the roundhouse. And then they go, the roundhouse, and then drops it.
Yeah. The Roundhouse, according to the detective mode, is an ode to the Roundhouse in London. It's not filmed in the Roundhouse.
So it's meant to be the kind of Roundhouse, like
it's not meant to be it. It's more of inspired by it. Yeah, it's much smaller than the Roundhouse.
Yeah,
the Roundhouse, for anyone not from London or not au fait with gig venues in London, is a massive gig venue in London. Holds 6,000 people or something like that, maybe more.
Yeah, I saw Bowling for Soup there once.
I've seen Billy Talent there.
Oh,
It was
really?
a real good show. Yeah,
They had a burping contest at Bowling for Soup.
I've seen Bowling for Soup about 7 times, and that does not surprise me.
I've seen them. I've seen them twice, and it was actually in the same year.
Really?
Yeah, it was at Camden Roundhouse where they headlined, and then it was at Wembley where they were supporting for Steel Panther.
Of course you like Steel Panther. I can see that.
Oh, I love Steel Panther. I'm seeing them again in May.
Nice. So they go to the Roundhouse, which is an illegal battling ring, because battling's illegal in Rhyme City. Although
Yes.
it's a staple of Pokemon in general, it's illegal in Rhyme City. And you might like this. The DJ, not the MC, but the DJ,
Yeah.
is a real EDM DJ.
Oh, really?
He's called Diplo.
Yes, it was Diplo. Yeah. Not a fan
Real
of him,
name,
though.
Thomas Wesley Pence Jr., apparently. He's won 3 Grammys,
Yeah.
and here he is.
I'm not a big fan of Diplo.
Oh, fair. I'd never heard of him, but I know you like EDM, so I thought you might know who he is. We get a battle going on between Gengar and Blastoise.
Yeah, I wrote Gengar will haunt my nightmares.
He's creepy in real life, isn't
Yeah.
he? Yeah. We see a girl with pink hair in glasses noticing Tim and Harry's Pikachu, and she texts.
In all caps. Woman in a suit! Woman in a suit!
Oh, I forgot that's one of your things. She's got pink hair as well. I mean,
Yeah.
that does it for you, doesn't it? Pink hair in a suit. Tim is...
You know that Jim
fussy-
Carrey in the mask when he first sees Cameron Diaz?
Oh,
Eyes
yeah.
bulging out, tongue on the floor. Yeah, that was me.
I've got a name written further down in the notes, so I'll tell you what her name is, and you can go Google it to your
Oh,
heart's
you
content.
You don't think I was on IMDb the moment I saw her?
The MC also, the MC's called Sebastian, the guy who's got the Charizard. He also notices Pikachu and asks where Harry is.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that Harry's Pikachu has beaten that Charizard in a battle before,
Yes.
and Sebastian wants a rematch. In the background, we see Gengar win the fight with Blastoise
Yeah.
as well. Sebastian says if Pikachu can win the rematch, he'll tell them anything they want. And just before he goes in for the battle, Pikachu does some light stretching, because you don't want to go into these things too tight.
Yeah.
Just such a funny line. Just this little tiny yellow mouse just stretching, like, yeah, let's do this.
And then obviously Sebastian uses the R chemical on Charizard.
Sends him mental.
And then this is when Pikachu realizes he can't use his powers. He goes, "Can anyone not look at me for a moment?
I can't do it while people are looking. It's like peeing. Another joke that kids might not get. Yeah. So Charizard obviously starts to win, and Pikachu curls up in a ball. He said, "You don't want to do this. I'm adorable." Pika Pika.
And then Tim comes in and starts stamping on Charizard's face. Would that not kill Charizard?
Well done on your Pokemon knowledge.
Hey, no. That episode of Pokemon with Charmander, when it's out in the rain, traumatized me.
Yeah, so if any of the Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard lines tail flame goes out, they do die. So when Tim stamps on it, you notice it immediately extinguishes the fire breath. So he can't use flamethrower or whatever he was going to do to Pikachu. Good tactic by Tim. If he'd just smothered it and kept his foot on it, it might have killed him, but he was just stamping on it a little bit.
Yeah.
Sebastian jumps in the arena to try to stop the fight, and what happens?
Basically, all the R chemical breaks in his jacket and goes all around the roundhouse, making all of the Pokemon attack everyone.
They go fucking mental.
So there were dubstep Pokemon there.
So he's a speaker Pokemon.
Okay.
So he's called Loudred. His initial Whismur, his initial evolution, is very quiet, and then steadily as the evolution goes on, he grows like big speakers on his head, and he's super loud. Yeah. He's just playing dubstep. I don't think he always plays dubstep.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I was going to say also, the Pikachu looking scared animation is actually amazing.
So there's a little bit on the detective mode about the animation. They were really trying to give his face muscle to move without being too distracting, and I think they do a really good job of it.
Really good. I would say Pikachu's like one of the Pokemon who blends into the world the most. Obviously, because the star.
I mean, his data's probably 3 times the size on the film.
Yeah, exactly.
They try to escape, but they can't. They get cornered by Charizard.
Yeah.
And what does Pikachu try to do to get out of it? Do you remember? He gets a magic cup.
Oh,
He says
yes,
when it evolves into Gyarados.
Gyarados.
And he throws it.
And it does nothing.
And then, a split second later, it does
does.
decide to evolve into a Gyarados.
And did he say I can't float or something? I can't swim or something? Because then the Gyarados floods the whole
Yeah,
place.
he floods it out, which actually does help.
yeah.
Because it sends them flying out the door. And what happens when they get out the door?
They get picked up by the woman in the suit.
No, they get arrested.
Oh, yes, yeah,
She gets in a car and leaves.
Oh, yeah.
But they get arrested.
Yes, they do, because then they go back to the station and they try to explain to Harry's boss.
That Harry could still be alive.
And then they show the footage of the car wreck. Which I was like, that's kind of dark to do.
Yeah.
Like, I understand why he's doing it, like to stop Tim, but at the same time, it's like, come on.
Harry's boss shows Tim Harry's car crash on not a video, it's a 3D hologram.
Yeah.
Which is really cool, and they freak out thinking it's real for a second.
Yeah.
And he says,
No, that's later with Bill Nye.
Either way, he shows in the footage, he says no one could have survived that.
Yeah.
And they decide to give up looking for Harry, but they still need to find out what happened to Pikachu.
Yes.
And his memory. And as they're kind of waiting outside the police station, their black car pulls up.
Yes.
And Pikachu says, well, that's a bad guy car.
Yeah.
Your girl gets out.
Yes, she does.
This is where I've written the actress's name in my notes. Suki Waterhouse.
Yes.
Tim's Google last 20 searches. She takes Tim and Pikachu to Howard's office. And when he gets there, you see something quite cool. You get to see a Pokemon evolving
Yes,
again.
Eevee and Flareon.
Yeah, it's quite cool. And Howard's, there's loads of nods in Howard's office to Pokemon. There's other evolutionary stones.
Yes.
There's like bits of like ancient tablet. And there's statues, and it's quite cool. There's nods to stuff that you don't. There's nothing else in the film that references them, which is pretty cool. We find out that Howard knows about the R.
And also knows about Harry.
And he knows about Harry. And he then shows you the 3D playback, and they flinch,
Yes.
thinking it's real.
I put the holotech is bullshit.
Why'd you say that?
Because, like, it shows you, like, how would it have seen the Mewtwo?
I don't know, Tim. It's a movie.
Like, I understand that it's a movie and there's going to be fictional things, but when you establish a piece of technology, you need to establish the rules of it. Because this is a piece of technology that
Have you seen films before, Tim?
Yes, most of the time they establish the
No,
rules
they
around
do
it.
not. I'd say less often than they do.
They establish its limitations. This seems to be an unlimited piece of technology that can basically spy on everyone. And it's like, not if they established there was a satellite drone watching everything, something like that, I would have understood. But there is nothing to show where Howard would have got that footage from, because even the CCTV camera would have not picked that up. Apparently,
They could have had like just another angle of CCTV and told the story in the same way. I think they just wanted to do something cool with the technology.
I mean, visually it's cool.
Visually, it looks amazing. Yeah, we see that Harry survives, but then Mewtwo shows up to fuck shit up.
Yeah.
He wipes Pikachu's memory and he takes Harry.
Yeah.
That's what we see. Tim and Pikachu head off to the cafe to meet Lucy, and this is a funny scene because she acts like they're incognito detectives.
And he just fucks it up immediately.
Yeah, he's such a klutz. She tries to sit on like the bench behind him, so they're back to back and talk, and he just doesn't get what's going on. Then they bump heads, and Lucy just comes round to his side.
And they just do the soppy-eyed look at each other.
Yeah.
I hate that movie. I understand it's a kids' movie. Again, I say this knowing that it's a kids' movie, so everything needs to be played up. I just hate that trope so much.
It's here, and it's here to
It's here to stay.
It's going to be in every child's. Not even just every child. A lot of movies just do it, don't they? Lucy shows that there was an accident at a Pokemon genetics lab, and there's been a cover-up, so they're going to go and investigate.
And during that car ride, Psyduck, he basically gaslights Pikachu to giving him
Fully gaslights Pikachu.
to giving him a foot rub, which is honestly hilarious.
Yeah, he's basically like, do you care about your trainer? Of course I care about my trainer. And then he's like, give me a foot rub and I won't blow everything up. Pikachu sitting in the child seat, by the way, is adorable.
I know.
This is all filmed, if it was most obviously filmed in the UK, you probably guessed, this is Scotland.
Yeah.
Looks very like the Scottish Highlands.
It looks very Scottish.
Lucy breaks through the fence when they get there and they break into the lab. Lucy's smooth as hell breaking in.
I know.
In gymnastics lowers herself through the roof.
Does the superhero landing.
Yeah, and Tim just falls over. They look around the lab. They find some Greninja.
I put Greninja. I play Smash.
Yeah, you do. Oh, he's actually a playable character, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
I remember his reveal trailer. It was really cool.
And Roger, we find out that Roger is watching them this whole time on the camera.
Or who we think is Roger.
Hey, no spoilers.
Just a little tease.
So Roger lets out the Greninja remotely while our gang of Tim, Lucy, Pikachu and Psyduck have found Mewtwo's chamber.
Yes.
Tim finds another hologram playback of everything that happened
Yes.
with Mewtwo and its development, or its recapture, sorry.
Yeah.
Did you spot who the scientist was?
No.
It's Rita Ora. So she's the one talking the whole time.
That was Rita Ora.
She did a song that was connected to this. I don't think it's for this. Called "Carry On" with someone called Kygo. It's on the Blu-ray. I didn't listen to it or watch it. They find out that the R was actually a result of the fluid that Mewtwo was in.
Yeah.
So Mewtwo is like in Pokemon. He's cold. He's got no remorse.
Yeah.
So it's basically bottling that.
Bottling hatred.
Yeah, that's what they're doing essentially.
Can I say the hologram technology makes more sense here?
Because it's a lab and it could have been filmed from all sides.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mewtwo breaks out because they lose power to the atonement.
Yeah.
Did you get the reference here?
Was it the reference to the first movie where he breaks out? Yes.
So they said it was captured 20 years ago in the Kanto region, which
Yes.
is the red and blue region, which is obviously a reference to him escaping Giovanni when he has him,
Yeah.
which was 20 years ago in that movie. So that was nice, a little thing. So it's not, in a weird way, it's canon to the Pokemon anime.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. And we find out Tim's dad was hired as the one to catch Mewtwo.
Yes.
This is where Greninja grabs Lucy.
And
It's gross.
I actually put, if you do it right, Greninja could be a really good horror villain.
Oh yeah, he's great, man.
I got like Xenomorph 5, some alien. Like,
Well, yeah, he's a ninja and he's a dirty frog, and with a big gross tongue that can hold people hostage.
See, because obviously my first introduction to Greninja was in Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
I thought that was a scarf.
Scarf. You know, it goes around. It looks like a scarf as it goes around him. No, it's his
It's so
tongue.
massive.
Yeah. The saliva lands on them as well. It's so gross. When they get away, Lucy there's multiple Greninjas, and Lucy manages to get down, and they smash through a terrarium
Yeah.
to try and escape outside. That's a bad idea.
Bad idea.
I love when they're running and Psyduck is strapped to Lucy's back and Pikachu's trying to convince him to get a headache
Yeah. He just says, I hate it rubbing your feet.
to try and get him to use his powers to help them.
Honestly, it's something just so good about Psyduck where all he's doing is to say one word.
Yeah.
But it's just the intensity of which he's saying. It's like, I just gotta stop laughing.
Well, the emotion, I mean, the anime does it really well with Pikachu himself.
Yeah.
All Pikachu can say is Pikachu.
Yeah.
Different variants of the word. It conveys so much emotion.
I think that's like a benefit, like, it shows like the quality of like good voice acting.
Yeah.
Like, you get a good voice actor, one word's all you need.
Yeah. There's a bit where they're running across, so the ground starts to erupt and split.
Yeah.
There's a bit where the trees end up being horizontal and they
Yes.
run across them. The actors did that.
Yes.
It was on the blue screen, but they did it across these lumpy blue bits. It was cool.
I was gonna say, it looked cool, but the green screen looked terrible. Like, you could obviously tell, I think it was the lighting on the actors.
Yeah, maybe.
Because they weren't blending in with the background.
It was all done blue screen, as you can
Yeah,
probably
I mean-
guess. Although some of it is real. Some of it's visual effects. They
Yeah,
created a ginormous strip of land and made it lift up. So when they're hanging on and stuff, that's real. There's no blue screen.
Oh yeah, stuff like that's really cool. It's just like, I think I can go on a whole rant about blue screens for a second because we're in this age of cinema now where everything's filmed on like half sets now.
Yeah.
Where it's half physical and half blue screen, and the problem is when some films are rushed or they're not on a good budget or whatever. Not saying it was not on a poor budget because clearly it wasn't.
Massive budget. Yeah.
Massive budget at the back of Nintendo, but there are some things where if there's a lot of visual effects, you will notice the bad one immediately.
Yeah.
And I noticed it there because it was just lighting and it's work on your visual effects, guys. That's all I'm gonna say because when it stands out badly.
I don't know if it's just because I kind of lose myself in the movie. I don't really spot it. I do quite often lose myself in the movie. That's why I got you here, because you're a cinematographer guy.
And also, I'm just a big lover of practical effects.
Yeah.
Like,
you love your old horror movies, don't you? So,
I love them so much.
So the ground starts separating and splitting, and this is where Pikachu sees a giant eyeball.
Yeah. So, obviously, I wrote. It seemed obvious to me that it was that Pokemon, and this is when I actually found out that Pikachu likes to point out the obvious. They go, "Oh, it's that Pokemon."
Unfortunately, with movies, you have to play to the lowest common denominator who's going to watch.
Yes. In this case, it's kids.
It's something that some movies don't do.
Yeah.
I recently watched, and I'm sorry I've spoiled this for you because I know you want to do it as an episode, but I've watched it, and sorry, Everything Everywhere All at Once. And they do not... I'm glad I've not done it for the podcast, because making notes on that would have been horrific.
I wanted to dissect that movie so badly.
But they don't do it, which I think
Yeah.
alienates some non-kind of big sci-fi people, which is fine. Not everything should be for everyone, that's fine. But I think most films do spoon-feed people. And that's also fine because you're making it accessible. And Pikachu is it's either got to be Pikachu or it's got to be Tim.
Yeah.
Who are the conduit, especially for young viewers.
No, absolutely. Like, I understand it's a kids' movie, so you kind of sometimes need to point some things out. I just think, because to me, you already established it was a growing farm there. They distinctly say this is a growing farm for that.
Oh, we skipped over. Yeah, we see regular sized Torterra
Yeah.
in the terrarium, and they're saying they're trying to grow them
Yeah.
bigger.
So I think you already set that up, and then you have that reveal. You don't need to save it. You can just
Oh, yeah. I think I again watching it as an adult,
Yeah.
I knew what was happening the second it all started moving. Yeah.
you just like, oh, okay, that makes sense. If you just didn't say it, like, big example, like in, I believe it was Lord of the Rings, when on the mountains, they go, oh, the mountains are fighting. That's the time where you can actually have someone say it, because, like, that has not been set up as something that could possibly happen. And you go, oh, that's happening. But when you've already established this is something that can happen, and then you see it happen, I don't think you need to say, that thing that we said could happen, it happened.
I suppose it depends who your audience is.
Yeah.
And most stuff will play to lowest common denominator.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. They fall off of the Torterra
Yes.
and all land in a river. And everyone but Pikachu is okay.
Because he gets hit by a really tiny rock, and that seems to almost kill him.
Mate, if that rock is moving and falling with gravity, even a pebble could like dash through your head.
That's just what Pikachu was stronger than that.
Well, he's got knocked out. He's only a little fuzzy boy. They land and Tim starts to obviously panic. And my boy appears.
Bulbasaur.
My favourite Pokemon appears. And all you Bulbasaur haters out there can go fuck yourselves. And I'm leaving that in with an emphasis on go fuck yourselves. My boy Reese, he knows. He's a Bulbasaur boy. We love that little onion. And he appears. And Tim asks him to help Pikachu. And Bulbasaur just wanders off.
Yeah. Because Lucy says, the Bulbasaur doesn't understand English. Which I was like, don't most Pokemon understand?
Some of them do, some of them don't, I think. If they're wild, where would they have learned?
But then Tim goes, yeah, but he knows what I'm feeling.
And then Bulbasaur comes back with loads of Bulbasaur.
With a herd of Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur?
Bulbasaur?
Bulbasaurs?
A flock of onions?
Yeah.
Love them. I love Bulbasaur.
They have layers.
They do. That's why they're the best Pokemon, Tim. They're deep. They all follow Bulbasaur and they kind of go through this cool ravine. That's a real location as well. They went into Scotland. They're walking through that river for real.
This is what I wrote. They made all the first-gen stars the most adorable ones in the movie.
Oh, they're so cool, aren't they?
The Squirtle looks adorable. The Charmander, which is my boy,
Yeah,
most
fair.
adorable. Bulbasaur, adorable. And of course, Pikachu, because Pikachu became a Gen 1 starter in yellow.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they do. They know who the most popular Pokemon are and put
Yes.
more work into them, for sure. It's why Psyduck's Lucy's Pokemon. I think people love Psyduck.
Wasn't that one of Misty's Pokemon?
Misty had a Psyduck and it was useless, yeah.
Yes.
And then it's really funny because later on they meet one that's actually really competent and Misty gets really upset. They get to like this plinth and Tim puts Pikachu on it and all the other Pokemon just disappear. He's like, what's going on? And Mewtwo comes like floating down. This is where it seems like Pikachu has betrayed Tim.
Yeah.
He says, you brought the sun to me as agreed, as he heals Pikachu.
Yeah.
And Pikachu comes too. And it looks like Pikachu has double-crossed Tim.
Yeah. Because then you get like half the flashback with like, bring the sun to me. It's
Yeah.
Like, and then goes human or evil.
Yeah, so you kind of get half the story. Pikachu leaves Tim. So Tim actually doesn't believe Pikachu's betrayed him. He thinks something else. So Tim actually knows what's going on, but Pikachu thinks he's done it.
Yeah, but we should say the reason why you only get half the flashbacks is because Mewtwo gets captured.
Yes. So as we're seeing the flashback, all these electric rings circle Mewtwo, and Roger's there, and he puts Mewtwo back into the same pod, and obviously a mobile version of the pod that Mewtwo was caught in before. So he recaptures Mewtwo. Pikachu gets to leave, and he says he doesn't want to go with Tim anymore because he just betrays anyone who's around him.
Which is actually kind of a funny, like, dramatic version of that line he says for Mr. Mime, like, I hurt people and I push them away.
Yeah, that was a foreshadowing for sure. I like what he says. Tim says, I know you didn't betray me, I feel it in my jellies. And Pikachu says, I made that up. It's like, no,
there are no jellies.
Oh man, I like the jellies. Pikachu accidentally zaps Tim.
Yeah.
And Tim and Lucy... Pikachu runs off, and Tim and Lucy have to just go back to Rhyme City they need to stop Roger.
Yes.
When they get there, there's a Pokemon parade going on.
Yes, which is really cool.
They've got the big Pikachu balloon, which is the same one they use at Macy's Day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so there's a giant Pikachu balloon on the Macy's Day parade now. Has been for 20 years. Lucy steals a jacket and an ID from a reporter. She does work for the same company. She says, oh, hello, do you need anything? And she takes the jacket and the ID and the microphone. So now she's got an access press pass.
Exactly.
This is where we cut to one of the best bits of the movie. Pikachu walking slowly along the road, somberly singing the original theme to himself.
I know, it's amazing.
I wanna be the very best. It's so good.
No one never was.
Dum dum dum.
We could do the whole thing,
Yeah,
but
let's not. Anyone, I mean, we're 10 years apart. Anyone my generation probably knows all the words. It's kind of like Fresh Prince. Everyone knows the words.
Mate, I had it on my iPod.
What, the Pokemon thing?
Yeah, the full thing on my iPod.
Pikachu stumbles across the crash site.
Yeah.
And he starts to get flickers in his memory, and it turns out that Mewtwo wasn't the one who took the car off the road. It was the Greninjas. So it was the inference is that it was Roger.
Yes.
And that's when Pikachu realises he needs to get back to Rhyme City.
Yeah.
We jump to Howard's office, which is where Tim finds out what?
That Howard was the bad guy all along.
Bill Nye, you bastard!
Bill Nye, not the science guy.
Yeah, well, he's kind of a science guy right now.
Yeah.
He's built this kind of consciousness transferal machine where he transfers his consciousness into Mewtwo, meaning he's now the most powerful Pokemon in the world, and he's still Howard, which is crazy. Although, you saying about voices matching up, Bill Nye's voice as Mewtwo, that works.
Oh, it was awesome.
That works. So this is where Howard reveals that Tim and Pikachu have essentially led him to getting Mewtwo back.
Yeah.
We find out Harry and Pikachu were the ones who actually helped Mewtwo escape when they realised what they'd done was wrong.
Wasn't that revealed after this?
Oh, it's around this time. We now see Lucy sneaking through a barrier posing as a reporter so she can get close to the parade right on top of it. And this is where Tim realises that there's Argas in all of the balloons.
Yeah.
But Howard doesn't allow Tim to stop him. Howard, as Mewtwo now, flies out of the building and starts bursting the balloons with his powers. And Argas starts going everywhere and all the Pokemon start going fucking mental.
Yeah.
So once the Pokemon have gone mad,
Yeah.
so this is what we find out in the office. When the Pokemon's gone mad from the R, their consciousness kind of, for some reason, becomes open.
Yeah.
And you can put a human consciousness into it.
Yeah.
Mewtwo starts doing that to everyone and their Pokemon partner. So Lucy, poor Lucy,
Becomes Psyduck.
ends up inside Psyduck's head.
I actually wrote, Lucy's better as Psyduck.
So I don't know if they got the actress to voice the Psyduck, but the Psyduck's voice is now slightly higher pitched.
Yeah.
Pikachu comes running in and he realises Lucy is in Psyduck.
Yeah.
This is where Pikachu's like, I'm going to do something about this. And he climbs on a rope and climbs to the top of the Gengar balloon.
Yeah.
And he finally musters some of his electric powers, blows up the balloon and uses it to launch himself.
It's so cool.
It's a real cool moment, right?
Honestly, the final fight is just amazing.
So the fight between a little Pikachu and Mewtwo. Now I think if it was actually Mewtwo in control of his own body, he would have just destroyed Pikachu. But this is, you have to remember, this is Howard.
Yeah, who's probably not fully aware.
Not used to the powers word, how it works, and he's just figuring it out. So he's obviously way more powerful than Pikachu, but he just doesn't know how to use it. I think that's more of an inference from me, but I think if you're a Pokemon fan, a Mewtwo will probably destroy a Pikachu.
And also it wouldn't be as fun.
No, it wouldn't, yeah. Just kill Pikachu. He's dead.
Immediately.
Pikachu jumps on a passing Pidgeot to fly to get away from Mewtwo.
And then goes right into the Argas, so it goes insane.
Yeah, and the Pidgeot goes mental.
He's like, please don't fly into the gas.
Oh, no.
The gas in you.
But Pikachu keeps going in the gas and nothing happens.
Yes. Interesting.
We hear her voice, and Tim finds Roger tied up in the cupboard.
Yes.
And behind him is another Roger in sunglasses.
Yes.
And it turns out to be Ditto.
Oh.
And he takes the glasses off and he's got the creepy Ditto eyes, which, if you're a fan of the anime, that's a shit Ditto.
Yeah.
That's a shitto, if you will.
Really?
Because a good Ditto can transform completely, eyes and all. In the anime, there's a shit Ditto that can't transform its face. So
I remember watching that episode.
Yes!
I remember that because I had to get an American DVD of that, so I had to change the region on my on my computer.
Yeah, he's actually got a shit Ditto.
Yeah.
And then the Ditto transforms from Roger into the unnamed character played by Suki Waltman. Do you know what that means though? She's not real.
I know.
She's only a Ditto.
I cried.
Only ever been a Ditto. She's not even based on a real person.
I know. I cried.
And then Ditto turns into Lucy.
Yes.
And starts fighting
It's like,
Tim.
please, I don't want to fight her.
It's like, oh man, I fancy this girl. Don't make me beat her up.
So I thought it's terrifying. Then in that moment, I paused the film and I sent you the Smosh skit.
You did.
And I just wrote relevant.
Well, tell me what the Smosh skit is. Come on.
So I don't know if anyone here remembers back in 2011 there was a prequel movie to the film called The Thing. The plot of that movie is that there's a creature that can morph into a person, that any person that it kills. So they made a parody of that with Ditto. I said it to Bobby because we both knew about Smosh, especially because our first video was them lip syncing the Pokemon theme.
Lip syncing for their life.
But I have always had that video stuck in my head because of the final joke where it's the guy and the girl. It's like, I've always had a crush on you, and she's been possessed by Ditto. Goes, Ditto!
She's not been possessed by Ditto. It's Ditto turned into
Ditto.
her.
So she goes, Ditto! It's like,
you fancy me too? So yeah, it was very good. I've never seen that before. I've seen the original Smosh video, but I'd never seen that before. Ditto turns into a Machamp, which is overkill.
Yeah.
But he does it to fight Tim. And then when Tim gets blasted out the window, he's hanging on by his fingertips. And he just turns into a little Cubone.
I know.
And starts just tapping his fingers with the bone, which is quite cute.
I'm like, this Ditto's a dick.
I don't know how you make killing a human quite cute. It's like, dunk, dunk.
But I also kind of find it to be a really nice callback to the beginning, where that was the first Pokemon at the start of the film that we got introduced to.
And now it's the one trying to kill Tim.
Yeah.
Pikachu remembers that Tim says, so when they're battling earlier, when he's battling the Charizard, Tim tells him to use Volt Tackle.
Yeah.
And that's a move that hurts Pikachu as well, but causes a lot of damage.
Yes.
And he doesn't want to do it. And he's like, well, Tim says it's good, so I'm going to use it. You said you didn't play him a lot. To get Volt Tackle on a Pikachu in a game is a pain in the dick.
Really?
You have to breed it while it's holding a thing called, I think it's called a Light Orb. And then the new one, the baby one, will have Volt Tackle. Pain in the arse.
Jesus.
And it's not even that good of a move. I know people love it, but...
Yeah.
Roger, the real Roger, then comes and swings, I don't even know what it is, a big piece of metal.
I feel like a banister.
Banister.
Yeah.
At the Cubone / Ditto.
Yeah.
And it goes fucking flying. Like, it flies out of nowhere. Then it jumps back up, turns into a Bravery, and as it lands, it turns into a Buffalon and just charges at Tim before it turns itself into a Charizard.
Yes.
Where it gets Tim pinned down and is about to burn his face off.
Yes.
And what does Tim do to get out of it?
He basically goes... Well, he's been knocked over to the big orb that contains the Mewtwo, and it has a lot of the Argot gas, so he just rips off the pipe and just sprays it in the Ditto's face.
And the Ditto basically fucking melts back into the pink blob that he is.
So there's a bit where the Pikachu Volt charges Mewtwo, Roger Mewtwo, whatever, and he goes right into the building.
Yeah.
And I put, a Pikachu should not be able to beat a Mewtwo. And then what does he say as he just grabs the Pikachu? He's like, a Pikachu is not able to kill a Mewtwo. I was like,
there it is. There's also another bit here where Tim asks what the Ditto is, and Roger says it's one of Howard's failed experiments.
yes.
There's a fan theory that Ditto is a failed clone of Mew, which Mewtwo ends up being a successful one.
Yes.
He weighs the same as Mew,
Okay.
he's coloured the same as Mew, and his shiny is the same colour as Mew. He's also the only other Pokemon apart from Mew that can learn every single move, because he can turn into anyone, so he can learn every single move. So there's a little nod to another fan theory.
That's actually an interesting theory.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense. It's that's kind of terrifying to think there's a Pokemon out there that could do that. And
yeah. Turns into them. Yeah, it's crazy. As you said, Pikachu Volt tackles Howard Mewtwo.
Looks so cool.
Yeah. And as he's doing it, he says Pikachu cannot beat Mewtwo, and he's holding Pikachu up with his telekinesis.
Yeah.
Mewtwo can fly as well by levitation. And he realises something's happening behind him. He turns around and Tim is rushing towards the real Howard body, who's got the apparatus on his head that connects him to Mewtwo. And he yanks it off, and Mewtwo screams. Howard screams, like, no! And as he yanks it off, Mewtwo and Pikachu just fall out of the sky.
But then just before Pikachu hits the ground, Mewtwo regains his consciousness and saves Pikachu from falling.
Yes, he saves them both.
And then he undoes all the damage, basically gets rid of the purple guy.
So Tim and Pikachu are reunited, and they ask Mewtwo to fix everything, and he does.
Yeah.
Separates everyone, gets rid of the purple gas.
Throw Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, basically just wipes everything clean again.
Lucy hugs Psyduck. I said I'd hug Psyduck.
Yeah, he's a cutie, isn't he?
Yeah.
Howard gets arrested.
Yes.
Roger
tells Lucy to report everything. He's like, you were the one who was aware of everything.
Yeah.
You report it and tell her that I'm going to fix everything.
So she's got a new job now, somehow.
Yeah.
And this is where we get the big reveal.
Yes. So we get the rest of the memory, where it is revealed that after Mewtwo goes humans are evil, but you have shown me there is good. So what I'm going to do is put Howard's soul,
Harry's soul.
Harry's soul.
Essentially, he saves Harry because Harry's dying.
Yeah, so
by putting him into Pikachu,
and basically reunite with the sun, and I'll be able to restore the body. Which I don't know how.
It must be. Mewtwo's like a DNA Pokemon. He's a clone, so maybe he's got a thing where if I can get someone with somewhat matching DNA,
'Cause
I can use him to restore him.
I knew about the clone thing, but the clone thing only happened in the first movie because he had a fucking machine.
Yeah.
So I know
They do mention that he's a clone of Mew
Yeah.
earlier on in this
and
movie.
it happens off screen, so I guess he did something. But it's like,
Yeah.
it just wrapping up the movie.
I always took from it that it's because they share DNA and
Yeah.
Mewtwo's a DNA Pokemon.
Yeah, it's probably that, but it's just
Yeah.
it's like, I know I don't know much about Pokemon, but I just know with Mewtwo,
Yeah.
how it's done.
So Mewtwo separates Harry and Pikachu, and we get a really cool double bluff now, which I thought was really funny. We get a new shot, and Tim is sat outside the train station,
Yeah.
and Pikachu walks into frame, but with his back to the camera,
Yeah.
and you hear Ryan Reynolds' voice,
Yeah.
Harry's voice, and it looks like he's still Pikachu
Yeah.
just for a second before you see Harry's boot step into shot.
And then they finally show his face, like, oh, it is Ryan Reynolds.
It is Ryan Reynolds.
So, but I have a question. Because as they're walking away, so as Harry's about to get on the train, he's like, can I stay a bit longer? Tim goes to the train, he's like, can I stay a bit longer? Harry goes, I'd love that. And they go,
And he throws the ticket in there.
first thing is Ben says, I want to be a detective. But then Harry says, I have a real craving for coffee. So, does he not remember being in Pikachu's body? Or does the Pikachu have the memory of everything that happened?
I never really read too much into it, aside from it being a joke.
Because I could believe that the Pikachu would remember everything, because the Pikachu looks happy to see.
I always
him.
thought that he was saying it to Tim as a joke, because they obviously he remembers Pikachu being Pikachu and drinking
Yeah.
loads of coffee. I thought he was saying it as a joke. I never really read it as anything else.
Because it came off so sincere, so I thought, oh, he just generally has got an addiction to coffee.
Yeah.
That's been fueled by-
Maybe it was developed. Maybe his Pikachu memories are just hazy.
Yeah.
And it's Pikachu because Pikachu's obviously full of electricity and
Yeah,
a live
yeah.
wire. He got addicted to coffee.
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah. The credits start, which are pretty cool. The credits they start as the Game Boy graphics,
Yes,
and
which is
then
really
they burst into like an anime / manga thing, and they're
Yeah.
playing like a version of the original theme.
Yeah.
Not the anime theme, but of the game theme.
Yes.
When you start up Pokemon Red and Blue, the main theme plays, and I
Yeah,
think that's pretty cool. And that is the end of the movie. There's a couple of really cool extras on the DVD. Detective mode, as I said, this is how I watched it this time round. There is a Mr. Mime audio commentary over the scene, but obviously Mr. Mime can't talk, so he introduces himself by miming and then just plays the scene. There's I think a parody called Outside the Actor Studio, which is obviously a parody of Inside the Actor
Yes.
Studio, where Ryan Reynolds says, I inhabit all my characters, so when I got the character of Detective Pikachu, I was on my way to pick my daughters up from school. But I didn't go pick them up, because they're not Pikachu's daughters. I didn't watch the whole thing, and there's a couple of like little docs and stuff, and there's the alternate opening. Pretty good extra content. Tim, what did you think of Detective Pikachu?
I enjoyed it. I definitely think if I was more of a Pokemon fan, I would have loved it more.
There's a million Easter eggs, man.
Exactly.
If I'd have gone on the Easter eggs, we would have been here for about 4 hours.
Exactly. I was like watching it going, I never could have picked out more Pokemon and everything. I watched it. I think as a story, it's engaging, especially again I feel it's going for lowest common denominator. That's children. I think it does a really good job in being a kids movie. I think the actions are really good. I think the comedy works. My gripes was just really I didn't think it should be Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu. I just think it should have been a higher pitched voice.
Tim, it's okay to be wrong. Okay, you're allowed to be wrong. You're allowed to have bad opinions. Okay, but that's why we're here. We're here to help you. We're here to develop you.
It's therapy.
No, yeah. If you don't rate Ryan Reynolds as that role of Pikachu, that's fine by me. I think he was perfect for it, and I think the Deadpool role kind of helped him choose that. I think it helped inform that choice.
Are they making a sequel? Because I know there's been rumours for a while.
They are. It won't be Detective Pikachu, though. It'll be something else.
Oh, okay.
There's been some flutterings about it recently, doing another live action thing for Netflix, but that looks like it's been stopped.
Detective Pikachu, that's what I want.
Detective Raichu, yeah, evolve that little prick. He's bigger and stronger and cuter, if you ask me.
It's just a teenage Pikachu, that's how I always see him.
So that's it for Detective Pikachu. I'm really glad you actually enjoyed it. There are points there I was like, he's not enjoying this. There's just little bits of it that weren't for you. Okay, I can deal with that, that's fine.
No, overall, as a movie, I enjoy it. It's just little bits that stop me from ranking it as like a great movie.
It's one of my favourites that we've done so far, if I'm honest with you. 2 weeks. Your turn. What am I
No,
doing?
I actually did extra credit, believe it or not.
Oh, wait. Sorry to cut you across. What did you do? What did you do?
So, obviously, there's a wealth of things.
I mean, you're spoiled for choice, really.
That was the difficult thing, choosing. But I went with something that took the world by storm in 2016.
Oh. You're joining me on the dark side.
I have been playing Pokemon Go.
Yeah, you have. Yes. I love Pokemon Go. Me and my wife play it everywhere we go.
It has honestly become an addiction.
It's so good, right? And have you played it since 2016?
No, so okay.
So it was basic in 2016. It's so much better now.
Yes, honestly. So I did actually make an account for it back in 2016. I started it, but then it just didn't hook me.
Yeah.
But now I think because I'm out and about more, I have more incentive.
You work
play
in
it.
central London, which is a great place to play.
Oh, dude, there's like 4 different Pokemon shops just where I work, in that radius.
There's a gym on mine and my wife's house. I'm getting one at Katie's house.
My gym is an actual gym. It's great. So, yeah, I've been enjoying it, and I'm not saying it's making me a Pokemon fan, but it's just a nice distraction.
We'll have to add each other.
Oh, definitely.
Send you some gifts.
And also, I made Charmander my buddy.
Your buddy.
Yeah.
Get those candy. Get that evolution.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have you got a Charizard yet?
No, not yet. Again, it's been very basic. I've been playing it for like the past 3 days.
What do you think of the new features? Have you got like eggs and stuff?
Oh yeah, I've been incubating lots of eggs because I'm walking like all the time.
And all the little side quests they give you now, which they didn't before.
Yeah, it's quite fun. Honestly, as you know, I have a Switch. It isn't pushing me to buy a Pokemon game. I think that's just an issue because obviously Nintendo games are very expensive.
Oh, you don't want to play a Pokemon game? That's a shame that it's on the list, isn't it, Tim?
No, like it's not pushing me to like buy any of the more recent ones. I should say, like, because the one on the list is Red and Blue, which obviously that's iconic. I think that's a good reason.
I can always add ones later.
But I think because Nintendo games in themselves are very expensive.
Yes, they are.
It's not pushing
and they
me to go
hold
out.
their value. In fact, they increase in value quite often.
Especially like if you want to buy them second hand, they still are expensive. So that I have no incentive to go out and buy one like yet.
I've got 2 DSs, both with a copy of Red on it. One with red, one with blue.
Really?
So I'll allow you to borrow a DS off me, and you can play. When we do it, you can play that one.
When we eventually do it.
Yes. So that's it. So yeah. Now, what am I doing in 2 weeks?
So we are already going to be returning to the world of HBO.
Hey, back there. It's not been very long.
No, we were there like two episodes ago with Bored to Death, but now we're going back to a show that I fell in love with almost immediately, and it's slowly gained popularity, and it's already about to start its final season at the time of recording. It's Barry, which
About the bloke from EastEnders.
I wish. No, it's about it stars Bill Hader as an hitman who decides he wants to become an actor, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. HBO. Oh.
HBO. So if we're based in,
I like Bill Hader. Okay, let's do this.
Yes. So obviously available on HBO if you're in America. If you're based in the UK, you can watch it on Now TV. So the thing about the show, it's very narrative focused. Every episode you need to watch the previous one to understand what's going on. So for this, I'm giving you the first 4 episodes.
First 4 episodes. HBO. On Prime. No, on Now, sorry.
Now TV.
On Now. All right. See you in 2 weeks then. Let's do this. Looking forward to it. Thanks for listening to Cult Classic Society. I'm Bobby Davies.
I've been Tim Martini.
If you want to follow us on social media, we've got an Instagram at CC Society Pod, and if you want to email us, we are ccsocietypod@gmail.com.
No, don't forget, we also have a TikTok now.
You did a TikTok. You young'uns in your TikTok. Come on, what's the?
It's our same social as always at CC Society Pod.
So yeah, go hit the TikTok. See, Tim's been doing some new videos for us. Go over there and enjoy. What have we done so far?
We've done one for the John Wick episode where I just first over Ruby Rose, and we did one for the Bored to Death episode where we talk about how useless George and Ray are.
Thanks for listening. I'm Bobby Davies.
I'm Tim Martini.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.